Number 1, what did we get for number 1?
9.
You're close. 7 was the correct answer, but let's work this out since we were getting different things, because I heard a -2. Put 3 in for x. The top should be 6 plus 1, 4 minus 3 is 1. The numerator becomes 7, and this becomes just 7. Questions on that one? I don't recall what number 2 is off the top of my head, so we're just going to work on it. Okay, so to simplify this, you needed to multiply the fraction to multiply across here, also distribute it to the 16, remember that's over 1, and then do the same thing here. 7 times 4 is 28. 8 times 5 is 40. I'm going to simplify in a minute. For this one, you guys have the calculators, but since I'm doing this in my head, instead of multiplying 7 to 16, which I could do, and it's just a lot, and then dividing it by 18, I'm going to go the other way and do 16 divided by 8, and then multiply that by 7, because that's easier than trying to go the other way, in my head anyway. This would become 3 over 10x, and then 3 times -10 is -30. -30 divided by 5 is -6. If we simplify this, this will become divided both by 4. So now we have 2 fractions with x's that both have 10 as the denominator. So we don't need to get common denominators. We can just add those two together. 3 and 7 become 10. 14 minus 6 becomes 8. We can simplify this to just become 1. So all of the fractions disappear. We're left with whole numbers and a whole number coefficient of x plus 8. Yes, Jesse.
1x plus 8 was still right.
Yes, that is still right.
Easy.
Any other questions on that one? Right, number 3. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
I looked at this, but how did you get 14 for 7 and 8 times 16?
So I could have put that in the calculator. I would have got that. But the way I did it was 16 divided by 8. And then that number times 7.
Oh.
Number 3, twice the difference of a number and 9. How would we write that? Cat?
2.
Or you could put any other variable you want.
Whatever minus 4. 9 minus 7.
No. Because the difference of a number and 9 has to be the variable first and then the number. Number 4, is this relation a function? Okay.
No,
Why not?
because x has multiple y's.
Which x value?
0.
Yes. 0 goes to 1 and -1, so this is not a function. Is number 5 a function? No, it does not pass the vertical line test anywhere.
Why is there more than one? Why is there more than one?
So this is a specific type of graph called this is an ellipse or a hyperbola. Something you learn about in pre-calc, so don't worry about it. Alrighty. Do we have any function notation notes questions before we go over the review? Great.
I was thinking of doing this thing.
What about it?
Like, how this
This? The f of x and the y are the same thing. This just means equation, this just means function. Yes. Yes, let me sign you up. Honestly, have this up each day, but it's okay. Send you guys out really quick to write any guys' last names because I know your first names, last names not much.
Page is that?
That was the first page, but
Oh,
you
it's
have
not this.
no of the notes from last class. Do we have any questions? Anything we want to go over? Double check. On which page? The one where you're finding x or the one where you're finding y? That's number 8. I forgot what it was already.
2 minus 4x.
Thank you. 2 minus x minus. And then here wheel table. What values did we need? I don't remember.
That's the one that you do. That's the only one I can remember.
And then negative 5 and 4.
Negative 6, negative 2.
So we have negative 2 up here should be 10. Negative 5 is 22. Positive 4 is negative 14. So 22, 10, negative 14. And remember, your work process would be that over there. Any others you want to check over, have questions about? I'm going to break these marks one day. If not, we're going to move on to the review. We're not going to go through all of these. We're going to go through some of them. But if you see one that you want to go over a few times at the end, put a star, circle it, highlight it, something. We'll come back to it. So for number 2, we need to list out the domain and range. Remember, when we list out those, they're least greatest. Okay, we're gonna do it together. So list them out in curly brackets. Lowest value would be -4. The -3. Remember, we're not putting repeats, so we're only gonna put the -3 once. And then for the range, again, it's lowest to highest, so -5, 1, 2, 8. Is this one a function?
No.
Why not?
The domain repeats.
Where
The
does it
-3 repeats with 1 and 2.
So we're kind of practicing two objectives at the same time, domain and range and relations. Number 4, writing out the domain and range is nice when you have a mapping because they're already in least to greatest. So we just have to put those numbers, 0, 4, 9, range 2, 3, 4, 5. Yes, I
don't think it's a function because the 9 repeats with 4 and 5.
correct. We're going to jump down and do number 5. Now this one is not a discrete function where it's random numbers, so we're not listing these out. But if we're looking at our domain, what is our furthest point to the left? Will be our final answer, yes.
It goes on forever.
It keeps going, we don't know. So remember that this has arrows, so it means it keeps going past -2. And then furthest point to the right is also going to be the same thing, Javier.
At a point, because the curve is going, won't they just start going straight up and the other one will go straight down?
Not quite, because here, even as I'm looking at this, it's not going straight up. It's going slightly to the right. So that's what it's going to continue doing, going slightly to the right. It's very, very slowly. It's going to look like it's going straight up, but not quite.
How do you know that, huh?
I'm pretty sure.
Are you really sure?
Yes.
He's a math teacher.
I am 100% sure.
Okay. Nothing is gonna take.
And I was going to say, and I'm never 100% sure on anything.
Exactly.
Except for that.
Oh.
For our range, what would our range be? So it keeps going down, it keeps going up. Is this a function? Yes. I could draw in vertical lines, even though this looks like it might touch it more than one place, it doesn't actually, because it keeps going slightly left and slightly right. And it's going to have top. Move on to the next page.
Yeah.
Domain of this one, is this one going to be over numbers?
No.
No, it doesn't go.
Starts on a point and then goes only one way. It doesn't go in like the
Right.
It's only-
So where does this start at?
That
3?
Yes. So if this, let me go back. Is this to the right of this or to the left of it? Of this point?
It's going to the right.
Left. So it's everything below this point or less than this point. So it's going to be x is less than or equal to 3.
-5.
We want to say the range. What would our range be?
Our range would be all the numbers. Go in like forever.
Right. It keeps going up and down. Eric.
If you write
On the baby side.
if
Did you write all real numbers less than
No. For the first one?
Yeah.
So it has to be strictly less than or equal to a number and that's it?
I mean, all real numbers less than or equal to.
I wouldn't mix the two now.
Okay.
20. These arrows shows that it keeps going slightly up and slightly down. So if it keeps going up and down, it's all real numbers. Is it a function?
No, because they'll touch.
Correct. Touches at more than one place at any of those vertical lines, except for at 3. So we're gonna scroll down. Now, you won't see problems that look like this. In these examples, you're given 3 different functions, which is why you have different variables. And having be put, like, this one would go here, this one would go with the g of x, this one would go with h of x, this one is combining 2. You won't see problems that have different ones, and you have to know which one it goes to. You also won't see any that combine them. But we're going to do number 10 just so you see what that would look like. So for number 10, it's saying f of -1, so I need to use my f of x function. And it's saying plus g of 2, so I need to use my g of x function. So if I were to put those in, I'm actually going to put this in the calculator, but I am going to write out how it would look. So it's going to be 5 times -1 minus 20. Plus, I'm going to put like big parentheses to show that it's adding everything else. G of 2, so my g of x function is x squared, starts out with x squared. I'm going to put that 2 in parentheses and square it. Plus 5 times 2, and then minus 11. So I'm going to put all of that in my calculator at the same time so that I don't mess up anywhere.
Hold on now.
Or double parentheses. No, calculator, double parentheses.
So I'll show you what that looks like. Yes. So I did this in second period yesterday, so mine is up here already.
Excuse me.
Yes.
How do I clear the cabin?
So if you want to just clear the one you're on, hit clear. But you don't need to clear out the entire calculator.
I mean, that's a lot.
Oh, to go back to the home screen, hit second mode. That's like quit, go home.
How do we get up there?
If you quit, go home, you'll be here.
How this is set up is so confusing to the eye.
Yes. So when you put this in, you would do 5 and then parentheses -1. Hold on 1 second. Minus 20 plus parentheses is right here. And then you're going to add another parenthesis. When you do that second parenthesis, it makes this one bigger. Squared plus 5 in parentheses 2. And then minus 11 and end off your parentheses. And you should get -22. So you go into your question. Never mind. Yes.
Can you tell us the word for the and like how to tell and what to tell, please?
mean like what we would put as the work.
Yeah.
So literally what we had would be our work, and I would just put equals negative 1.
For me, I got 103.
Let me start. Negative 1, then minus 1. So I don't know if you can tell, but if you put minus and you put a negative, the negative is shorter than the minus. So if you need to subtract, put minus, but if you have a negative, put the negative.
I got a minus.
They look similar.
The negative, the one with
At the bottom, yep. But you would just get a question that looks like, use f of x equals 5x minus 20 to find f of 6. And you would need to know what you're looking for. I didn't ask this before we did this, but the number inside the parentheses was your x. I'm not asking you, I'm just going to say it. So we're looking for y, but if it was the other way, if it said f of x equals 6, that would be your y, and you'd be looking for x.
So wait, I'm kind of confused like how we do this. Because one word says use and then about that's kind of confused on that.
Okay, so disregard all of this because you won't see ones that have multiple. You'll see this problem and this. And that's it. It'll say use that to find this.
it won't be all on its long cell.
So if we were doing that, we would do 5 times 6 minus 20 and figure out what that is. And that's it. Other questions on number 10 or 7 because I just did it? Yes,
I wish I had
can you start and we'll come back to it a few times?
We actually have one left. For the G one, right? Number 10. What was the G supposed to be?
So G was this function right here.
Yeah, but like for F, it was 5 and X minus 20, right?
Yeah, so that was the function of F. Then we have to use the function of G for 2. Oh, that's why they're two different functions. Go to the next page.
Oh, I mean, that looks good.
For number 14. What is the domain of this? A, B, C, or D?
A.
-1, 0, 1, 3, that is correct. So be careful with these. Make sure you're paying attention to what it's asking for. That way you don't confuse it. Also, they purposely put in the range, -2, 0, 1, 3, to throw you off. Then they put in a random number that looks like it should be close, but it's missing negatives. And then this is not right at all. For, I actually didn't do. We're gonna skip to the next page. And skip down to 18. For number 18, it says a function of x consists of following order pairs. I think it should say of the following. Anyway, order pairs of the form xy. 4 of the order pairs are shown below. Which could be the 5th order pair if it were to remain a function? So which of these could we add to this and it still be a function? Javier?
C.
It If I put A up here, it would not be a function because of the 1s. If I put B up here, it wouldn't be a function because of the 5, and D because of the 0. So C is our correct answer. So we're not going to do 19, but I just want to talk about it really fast. For number 19, this would kind of help you for like function notation. Because for function notation, you have to put numbers in and then see what it is. So this kind of helps you see or match your table to your equation. So when you're putting it in decimals or putting it in your calculator, if you're seeing the wrong values, it is a way to kind of recognize that. So in your calculator, you can put all of these in at the same time. You would just have to know which one is which. So I want to say I did that yesterday. Yeah. So I put them all in at the same time. You don't need to do this. I'm just showing you how it would look. So mine is nice because they're color coded. Yours is not color coded, so they would all be black. So you would have to know which equation is which. But I could look at my table values and match them like that.
How do you get on paper?
You have to put each number in. That would take a long time. I would not advise that. Also, you're not going to see one like that.
So how do you do it again?
We'll come back to that. 20 is very similar. It gives you the graph. So if I went back to my calculator and instead of table I hit graph, it's going to graph all of those lines for me. Kind of the same thing. I could match the graph to the table and see which one it is. We're not going to go over 20. I just wanted to show you that's how you do it. Let's do number 24. So for 24, it says will result in f of x equals 10. Is that x or is that y? 10 is y.
What is it?
This is y.
We're solving for
We're solving for x, yes. So if it's inside the parentheses, so if it says f of 10, that would be your x value, you're solving for y. If it says f of x equals 10, you're given your y and you're solving for x. Eric?
Is it C?
It is. Saying,
I'm confused how you went to my.
if it's in the parentheses, it's x. If it's outside the parentheses, it's y. Okay. So if it was multiple choice, or because it's multiple choice, you could put each of these values in for x, see which one will give you y. But if it wasn't multiple choice, you would need to use your table. Put this in, look for where y equals 10, and see what that x value would be. It does become c, and I'm going to show you that in the calculator. What was that function? 1/2 x plus h. 1/2 x plus. If I go into my table, the values that we were given were -2. Well, let me do this. If it wasn't multiple choice, that's what I'm looking for. If my y value is 10, here I see my y value is 10, my x is 4, and that would be my answer. For number 25, it gives you the x and the y, and it's kind of backwards. So it gives you what the x and the y value are, and you could put x in to see which one of these gives you that y value. But we're going to do 26. It asks us to find the range, so we're looking for our y values when given this domain. So we're going to put in x squared minus 2, and then find the range for these four values. Squared minus 2. Oh, I didn't do that. Hang on. X squared minus 2, and we're looking for the values -2, -1, 1, 3. So I'm going to scroll until I get the x value, -2. So -2, y is 2. -1, y is -1. 1, y is -1. And 3, was it? Yeah, 3 was 7. So if I were writing those down, or it wasn't multiple choice,
A. It would be A.
it would be A, yes. Remember, you cannot have repeats. If this wasn't multiple choice, your work would look like this. -2 squared minus 2. -1 squared minus 2. 1 squared minus 2. And 3 squared minus 2. That would be your work. Yes.
So we have used decimals during the past.
It will be on it like it was on. Those are all the questions that I was going to go over. What questions did you see that you wanted to go over? All three? It might be like so for this one, the easiest way to do this one would be like plot some of these points and see if they line up. So for A, if I plotted the point 0, 4, that's me starting at the middle and going up 4. So I can already eliminate A because that point is not on the plot. For B, 0, -4, that's on there, but I have to check them all because one could work and not the others. 1, -2, that works. 2, 0, that works. 3, 3, it was so close, but that one didn't work. Unless I found the wrong one. 3, that one did not work. 0, -4, we know already worked. 1, 0 did not work. Just should be 0. So it has to be B. So 0, -4, 2, 0, 4, 4, 4, 1, 2, 4, and 6, 8.
Will this be a test?
It's just some of the review questions were similar, so I just left them.
And they didn't have the 14.
It's nice. Did you mean this 14? No. So yeah, this one is actually 19. It just looks like it's supposed to be. Oh, this one though. Number 2 goes down like a 14. So I'm going to put all 4 of them in the calculator instead of trying to do them each by hand, just because that would be time consuming. I just need to remember which one is which. So this one is blue, red, black, pink. I'm going to put that up here. Alright, so I'm gonna look at this table, or look at these tables. This would be easier if I had one of these in. There it is. And look at my table. So all of them are in there. I need to go back and make sure they're all gone. And I'm going to look at all 4 of my tables at the same time. So for number A, for letter A, my x value is 2. So I'm going to scroll down for that. And my y value is -4. There's only one that has that. It's the red one. So whichever one is red would have to be my answer. So this one would be A. For B, when x is 3, y is -1, so that's this blue one. So this first one. For C, x is 1 and y is 7, so that would be this black one. So this would be our last one. Now, if when looking at the table, if we had like when x is 2, y is -4, but we had multiples that had -4, we would have to look at more values. We didn't have to do that this time because there was only one that had that value. Aubrey. I'll send you out. Were there any others that we had questions on or wanted to see or go over? Gunnar? 15? On this page. So for 15, it's asking for the domain of this graph. Remember, domain is left and right. These have arrows. What would the domain of this be? No, because that would mean it would start at 0 and keep going to the right.
So is it all real numbers?
Remember, this is talking about the domain. Now, if it asks about the range, A would be the correct answer. Any other questions we want to see or go over?
Number 16.
Number 16. So this is asking about the range. These have endpoints. What is your lowest point? -3. So it has to start with a -3 so I can eliminate A and C. And then our highest point is +2. Now these both have the same thing, but what's different about B and D?
Because we're looking for the y value and B is x.
Right. So because one has an X, that would not be our correct answer. So be careful if you get a question like that. Can we go to number 20? 23. Alright, so for 23, it gives you the function 3x minus 2. And it says find f of 8 minus f of -5. So this is kind of like the number 10 we did, but they're both using the same function. So this would look like this. 3 times 8 minus 2 minus, then I'm going to put in parentheses because I'm subtracting everything else. 3 times -5 minus 2. Okay. So you can either put that on your calculator or you can simplify it. I'm going to put it in my calculator so I don't mess anything up. 3 times 8 minus 2 minus, in parentheses, 3 times negative 5 minus 2. It looks something like that when you put it in. And we got 39. Minus 2 minus this. If you put in a negative somewhere instead of a minus, make sure all of these signs are minus, 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 negative, minus.
So all the minus is negative 5.
Yes. Any others we want to go over?
You said number 25 is going to be.
I think that's last one more time.
Yeah, it's probably the last one.
25.
Yeah.
Okay. So for 25, I'm just going to do this algebraically because it would be time consuming to put. Actually, I can put these all on the calculator. Ask it.
Number 17. The
If the x's repeat, it would not be a function. If the y's repeat, it doesn't matter.
And then x squared equals sign.
So I put all 4 of these into the calculator. I'm going to go to my table. And I'm looking for when x is 2, which of these gives me 13? The red one. I didn't write down which one the red one was, but I'm pretty sure it's the second one. So 3x squared plus 1 gives me 13. So that would be my answer. Have any other questions?
Like, go over 17 because my head is like split between two things. And it's visually taxing, right?
Is this one, we're looking for things that are functions. Is this one a function?
No. Yes, because none of the x values repeat.
Yes. Is this one a function? No. Is this one a function? Yes. We have non-repeating x's. Is this one a function? No. Is this one a function?
Yes.
And is this one a function?
Yes.
Okay.
How is that?
I have a question.
Yes.
How did you do number 25 in the calculator?
She went to the y area and then put all the y's in and then match them. If y is 2, if x is 2, which is 13, that.
So put them in.
So
Go to the
y,
table.
and then we put them in for each one.
No, move that. There we go. When x is 2, y is 13. Remember that.
That's right.
And then just go back and see which one is red. Well, for me, it was red. You would need to remember which one you put in. Yes. I'll sign you out. Any other questions? So for the remainder of class, you guys are going to be working through the other examples that we didn't do in that review packet. If you finish them, you can go back to other note packets, practice those. If you haven't done your Khan Academy for this week or prior, you can work on those. If you haven't done Delta Math for function notation or prior, you can work on those. So you have a multitude of things you could be working on. Don't really care what that is, you just need to be working on something. If you have questions,